I'm joined now by author Tina Gasnares. Tina, I've already had such a great time talking to you, so I'm glad now the cameras are rolling and we can really get down to the nuts and bolts of your beautiful book. But before that, I want to know what led to you deciding to take on this huge project.
You know, it's kind of it's a very personal story. I'm one of 12 children, and I'm number 8 out of the 12. I have 5 sisters and 6 brothers. And in December of 2020, my younger sister, Tamula, she actually passed away unexpectedly. And it was interesting. And through the mourning period with my siblings, we were going through photos, we were preparing for the funeral, and we found ourselves laughing, we found ourselves crying, we found ourselves reminiscing. And I thought, at the time, I found myself thinking about our childhood.
Yeah.
And that led to me because in the past, and when I was a teenager, I would always just write. I was in the habit of writing. I took creative writing classes in college, and I found that it was always a very cathartic experience for me if I could get it out. And so in January of 2021, I started writing a story, and I just started thinking about my childhood with my sisters. And as I started writing, the words began to just flow right out. The imagery, the friendships, the emotions, being a 9, 10-year-old child.
Yeah.
And over time, before I knew it, I noticed that there was a story there, and I said, okay, I think I want to publish this book.
Yeah.
And I was very concerned about shopping my book around. And so I did the work of searching for a writing coach, someone who could really walk me through the steps of how to self-publish. And that was a arena I was very unfamiliar with. And I found someone, and she's based in Atlanta, Georgia. And as we started working on it, we were meeting. It was all virtual because we were still shut down and during this pandemic. But what a wonderful diversion it was for me. First of all, mourning, but also working on something that occupied my time, right? During this shutdown, I was still working from home. I had actually shifted from work at Purdue Fort Wayne to my home, so I was stuck at home. And then I noticed after I logged off for the day, I was still at home. So it was nice being able to continue to write, to meet with my writing coach. And it was that creative space that I created in my home was just what I needed. And so by that time, I'd learned how to come up with the concept for my book. And I worked with a graphic artist based out of California. And I had to show him photos. I took photos. I said, here, I have something in mind. I know what I want. And I came up, and here is the final product, the book. So it was published in August of 2021. And I just launched it. I've never created all of the package material and setting up book sales. And I learned literally on the fly. I had my son-in-law, who is wonderful about working with setting up websites for businesses. And I said, I need your help. And he was phenomenal. So I was able to really, I knew there were experts out there that knew more about this than I did. And I knew where to find them. And they helped me along. So a lot of good people helping.
So first I should say, I'm so sorry for your loss. And grief is so hard, but when you can channel it into something positive, I think that changes everything. But I want to know how scary it is, I would imagine, to take this piece that, like you said, it didn't start out as something that was intended to be published. Is it scary to say, okay, I poured my heart into this, and now I'm going to send it out into the world?
Oh, it was a very scary experience.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to be in a creative writing class where you're critiqued by your classmates and by
Right.
your professor, and they're kind of showing you the mechanics. Here's how you can work on this. And it's one-on-one. It's much more personal. But when you put your book out there for all, that means so many different opinions, responses. And I just thought I remember kind of preparing myself mentally for that experience. What would you do? How would you feel? And I remember at one point when I read the story, and it was one of the younger, one of my beta readers who was a 10-year-old young man, and he wrote his feedback, and he told me exactly what he liked about the book, what he didn't like about the book. And that was pretty much the start of where I said, okay, I've touched a nerve and it's making an impact. And it's positive, negative. I don't think that's necessarily the name of the game here. The fact that it touched a nerve.
Yeah.
And he was responding to those words.
Yeah.
And at that point, I just said, you know what? I believe in this book. I like this story. And I stand by it. And so I think that's where the fear subsided, right?
Yeah.
Because I think I said, you know what? Some people will like the book and some people will not like the book. But I love this book. I love the story. And I think I'm just sharing something that that is a labor of love. And I think that is why I think the fear, it's gone now. It's gone now. And I think now that I've actually talked to young people, I've visited a after-school program, the Macmillan Park after-school program, and I was approached by Camille Curry, who reached out and told me, we want to use your book as our featured book club selection. And for 8 weeks, the students, she read the book to them while they worked on projects with themes within the book. And I was blown away by it. I mean, she literally created a curriculum around this book.
Yeah.
And I was impressed. And then on the last day of the program, she invited me and I got to listen to the children. I got to listen to them and listen and answer their questions. Why did this happen? I asked, which character did you really connect with? And they were sharing. And I said, this warms my heart. This is amazing. There were boys in the audience. There were girls in the audience. So I get the joy of seeing young people pull those elements, pull the themes throughout the book. And they were talking about exactly what I said. Yes, that's it. Yes, yes. I was
Nailed
just
it.
charged. Yes, without saying a word.
Yeah.
This was what their comments and their reflection. And I just thought it was amazing. So it was, I felt so proud. I felt very
Yes.
proud watching them because it set exactly what I put forth. I wanted them to be able to capture and to grab that information and to say, I got it. I see it.
Yeah.
I see it. And there was no greater joy for me. I actually teared up a few times just listening to them. And I'll tear up again. I'm a crybaby. I admit it. But it was so rewarding to be able to see the book in action. And it was an amazing experience. And I read the final chapter to them. And they were a wonderful audience. And I felt so honored. And I got to sign my copy of my book and gave each of the children a copy of the book. And it was just amazing. It really was.
So now that Martina is out in the world, now that she lives and helps kids articulate their feelings and their experiences, do you plan to write another?
You know what? I am in the process of writing a second book.
Oh,
it's actually the
fantastic.
second book in this particular series. I like Martina.
Yeah.
I like spending time with her. I tell people, and I make this very clear, I said, Martina is not Tina Gasnaris.
Yeah.
She isn't me. And it's so funny because I think I couldn't help, because now that I hear from different people who have read the book, they've asked me, did this happen? And I said, well, I mean, there are some elements,
Right.
but it's not my story.
Yeah.
I just pulled from different elements of my life and I created this story.
Mm-hmm.
And when my granddaughter, she's 4 years old, her name is Eliza, one day she saw the book sitting on the coffee table and she says, Nana, is that you? I said, you know what, Eliza? Maybe it is. it is. I couldn't say no. So, but the second book is my grandson Lorenzo. He actually asked me after, because we read the book together, and he was very drawn in to the story, and he
Yeah.
had questions, and he actually had a shared experience from the in school where he actually said, Nana, and he gave me this story, and I said, that's right out of Martina's book, and we talked about it.
Mhm.
And I said, how did you feel? And we talked and discussed it, and it was a wonderful moment. And he was the one that asked me, now, Nana, are you going to write another book? And he said, because he's interested. He wants to know what
Yeah.
happens next. And I said, you know
Yes.
what? I said, yes. I said, I would love to be able to write another. So it's nearly done. And I would like to be able to get this out there, hopefully by the spring, for
Oh
sure.
my gosh. How incredible to go from, a cathartic experience, working through grief, to really helping kids, find a voice and organize all of those thoughts. It's just incredible. I think you are so inspirational.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for bringing Martina to the world. I'm so excited that there's a second and potentially more books. And thank you so much for sitting down with me.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And thank you for the invitation. It was lovely talking with you.
Arts in Focus on PBS Fort Wayne is funded in part by